segment
3.
You gotta be more excited.
3!
Segment 3 of the Danny Vegas live show. Wow. 500 grand already done. Hey, we make $1 million a show. We already did just 500 grand. Man, it's a fun. Anyway, I got a little update from my buddy, High Flying Mike. If you're interested in that event that we were talking about, you got to go to info@highflyingmike.com or look for Michael. How do you say that last? Susara. Sorry, High Flying Mike. Mix and mingle on eventbrite.com. That's going to be a humdinger.
It's February 8th.
That's going to be a humdinger, man. This guy's a very popular guy in town, and he's got a great following, and we're big fans here. So we're going to do everything we can to market that show.
Okay.
Big show. Okay, segment 3. Let's talk about this Women's March I think caught a lot of people by surprise right after the inauguration. Now, you know me when it comes to protesting. I love protesting. And I thought, now, I may not agree with the narrative of why they were protesting, but the fact that they put all those people in all those cities, and it was peaceful, except, the crazy ones that were not part of that march was breaking windows. But the actual march itself, the next day, hundreds of thousands of women marching in a peaceful way, very diverse, not just a bunch of mighty whiteys that we saw at the airports, okay? Very diverse, women of all different ages. Now, and they were protesting, and here's what I liked about it. Like I said, I don't know about the narrative. I probably don't agree with everything, but what I liked about it was, if you're fighting for reproductive rights, which I know for most men it's a free get out of jail free card, so we just kind of like sit down and shut up about it. But at the same time, if you're fighting for that, you've been fighting for that for 30 years. Some of the other issues that are out there, maybe you're not a big Trump fan because maybe you're sensitive to he's kind of an ass grabber back when he was younger. Whatever the case may be, you came together, you marched, you did it in a peaceful way, and as an American, I was very proud of you. Now, that said, certainly some of the acts that you had on stage with the bad words and stuff, and when I start seeing well-groomed, made logos and stuff, then I know there's some money behind all this stuff. And I always like, well, who's the man behind the curtain for this? But I will tell you, as an event, as a protest, I thought you did the country proud. I think you did a great job, and you got your word out there, and you did it in a peaceful manner. Jody the Rock Rocco, go.
I think you're full of yourself is what I think.
You think I'm full of myself?
Full of yourself.
You think I'm full of myself?
Let me explain something to you.
Okay, explain to me.
It may have been a wonderful little get-together for you.
It wasn't little. It shocked the world.
It may be a wonderful little get-together for you.
It was the biggest.
But it alienated 40 million women in this country.
It was the biggest protest in the history of the country.
40 million women were alienated through this protest. I find it very difficult to take somebody seriously who has a vagina hat on.
Well,
I have a very big problem.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but all of them didn't. They had pink hats.
Excuse me. I'm talking. I find it very difficult to take somebody seriously who has a vagina hat on. Okay, number one. Number two, this was not a protest about my rights. What rights am I missing? I failed that. I must not have gotten that memo because I'm not sure exactly what rights I was supposed to be fighting for. If you asked anybody there, 9 out of 10 of those girls, because most of them were girls in their teens and early 20s, the same people that were on the left, and that's why Hillary lost, most of these people had no clue what they were there for. And if they said, well, for women's rights, well, what right are you missing? What right are you missing right now? Because I'm missing that point, number one. Number two, not all women were welcome. Only a select group. Select groups of women were welcome. Pro-life groups that were part of this program were dropped because it wasn't the message. The message was, if I want to have an abortion, I can. Okay, well, here, I got another message for you. I'm not paying for it. How about that message? How about Planned Parenthood being defunded? Let's talk about Planned Parenthood and Margaret Sanger, who created Planned Parenthood to stop the production of black children. This is why Planned Parenthood was created. All right? So let's not forget why they were there, because they don't know why they were there. This was a Trump bashing event. The majority of this had nothing to do. Madonna's going to blow up the White House. They ought to throw her ass in jail. That's an E-class felony. She's not allowed to threaten the president. Period. There's no discussion there. That is part of our Constitution. She is not, no one is allowed to threaten the president like that. Okay?
Okay.
So there were,
I'm not talking. I'm not saying a word. I'm locked in.
The organizer of this event is a Palestinian Hamas follower leader by the name of Linda Soros.
Linda Soros?
Linda, her last name, Sarsour.
Okay.
Sarsour.
I was going to say, maybe she's married to that billionaire guy.
Well, no, George Soros and Linda Soros, they work together hand in hand.
Okay, all right.
And don't think that they didn't make a bucket load of money on this. And all that money, you'll never see a dime. It's not going to go to women's shelters. How many people stopped at the women's shelter? Ask Madonna what kind of check she wrote when she left D.C. on that day to the women's shelter in D.C. I'll tell you right now, 0. Nobody did anything to back up their rhetoric that they were talking about at that march. Okay? And let's not forget, Miss Sarsour, she wants Sharia law in every state of this country. She's pissed off and said so in an interview, easy to find, that 22 states in our country do not accept and allow Sharia law. I was shocked to know that only 22 states doesn't allow it. Since when is Sharia law allowed in our country? That's the thing that people should be more concerned with. Look at the background of what's going on here. This was funded by people who oppress women. What about the women in China? What about in
China? Are we going to China?
If you have more than one child and it's a girl, it dies.
I know that.
Okay. That's a fact all over the world.
Okay.
If you go through, and I'll just give you just an idea, okay? Just an idea. First of all, where were these women 8 years ago? That would be my first question. Or the 30 years that Hillary's been in office. Where was this big march? All of a sudden now Trump is in office and now they have this big ass march.
They don't like him very much.
Yeah, they don't like him very much. Yeah, but their argument isn't very good. Let's talk about no one spoke of the women in other countries like Saudi Arabia, where women can't drive. They have no rights and must always be covered. Or China and India and the infanticide of baby girls. Or Afghanistan, unequal education rights. Or the Democratic Republic of Congo, where rapes are brutal and women are left to die. Or HIV infected and left to care for children alone. Or Mali, where women cannot escape the torture of genital mutilation. Or Pakistan, where women are gang raped to pay for men's crimes. Or Guatemala, where the impoverished female underclass faces domestic violence, rape, and the second highest rate of HIV/AIDS after sub-Saharan Africa. An epidemic of gruesome, unsolved murders has left hundreds of women dead, some of their bodies left with hate messages. Instead, we hear blowing up the White House and other asinine comments irrelevant to my world as an American woman living in the United States. This march was a farce.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is, okay, that these 2 to 3 million women who marched all over the country in the largest protest in American history that was totally peaceful, did a great job.
They don't talk for me.
Well, there's a lot of women that they don't talk for, and that's understandable.
They didn't talk for the 40 million American women that they alienated.
I would say that, to be honest with my marching friends, that there's just as many women, if not more, that think that your issues are not their issues. There's no doubt about that. But I'm just saying, as an American who believes in the world of protest to show your discontent with your government, I think that was a textbook example of how it should be done.
Set women back 10 years, 20 years. Set women back because they alienated certain classes of women. If you're going to have a stand or a march or any kind of activity for women, don't call it a women's march. Call it a pro-abortion, anti-Trump march. That would have been for women.
Okay.
That would have been a completely different story. Don't involve me in that crap rhetoric.
Anything else?
Now, did you really want to know what I had to say about
that?
No,
I was just, like I said, I just was kind of amazed on how well it went off as far as a protest was concerned. I said at the beginning of the segment that some of the narratives I probably couldn't drink that
lemonade. And they're wearing a fascist shirt. Most of these girls can't even spell fascist. They don't even know what fascist means.
I know. I mean,
Che Guevara, really?
I know. I mean, most people, they say all this Nazi stuff. Who's ever seen a Nazi? Okay, no one. There ain't any Nazis.
They're comparing Hitler.
There's no Nazis anymore. Okay.
Hitler killed millions of people.
Yeah, I know. Well, there you go. Now we got was this segment 3?
That was 3.
Okay, we got segment 4 coming up right after this. Hot, hot, hot.